Although weeping lasted all night, I know that joy comes in the morning light. So I march on to a new song, 'cause I've been marching to that old one way too long. And I gotta move on and take new steps every day. I know there is got to be another way, and I'm brighter day, so I march on.
All right. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Pure Live. I'm here with Dr. Valerie McCray, and I do have a special guest that I'm bringing on with Dr. McCray. And today, and that special guest is actually Dr. Margaret Jamal. Surprise. So the topic today was just breathe and how to improve your mental health. And one of the reasons that we are talking about this today is because we are talking about this today because we have a lot of stuff going on, as we all know, and people are struggling to get their minds right, to get their minds together. Depression has gone up, anxiety has gone up, myself included. So I wanted to bring on Dr. Valerie McCray to bring her expertise, and Dr. Margaret Jamal to have her input as well, as they both have some very important expertise to bring to the topic. So first, Dr. McCray, I'd like to bring you forth to this point. I'd like you to introduce yourself and let people know what your accreditations are.
You know what? I hope you can hear me. I says here I'm getting an unstable internet connection, and
I hear
something
you.
always when we're trying to. You can hear me fine.
I can hear you.
Is it
Yes,
okay
ma'am.
on your end? Okay,
Yes.
perfect. I'm sorry. What did you say?
Please introduce yourself and what your accreditations are. What is your background?
I will be glad to. I'm so happy to have extra guests on here. I don't have to carry this load alone because there's a lot to talk about. I'm a clinical psychologist by trade, so the mental health part of it is where I live. It's sort of where my address is in mental health and trauma and just dealing with everyday stuff as well. So I work with, I always took the path of least, I never took the path of least resistance. So I've worked in Detroit inner city, doing some things in Detroit. That was one of my first assignments. And then from there, I came to Indianapolis, where I work in prisons. And between prisons and the military, I'm dealing with their trauma.
Oh boy. Okay, you're breaking up pretty bad. There you go.
Okay, great.
Go ahead.
And so that's who I am. I'm a University of Michigan grad. For those of you that are out there that are maize and blue and go blue, so that's what I do.
Okay.
And then the most important part. Somewhere about a year and a half ago, I decided to throw my hat in the ring to run for president of the United States, and I have not given up that dream. I'm still on that journey. It's just it's a difficult journey, but it's fun at the same time. And right now, I know that I'm needed there more than at any other time. So it's really interesting how things have transpired. But that's who I am in a nutshell. I'm going to check this connection and see if I can get a better connection. Hold on just a second.
Okay. And while you're working on that, Dr. Margaret Jamal,
Uh,
please introduce yourself. How are you? Thank you for joining us today, by the way.
well, I'm doing quite well. Thank you so much for having me. Can you hear me well?
I hear you great. Thank you.
Okay. Well, I am Dr. Margaret Jamal, the mother of Asia
Okay.
Jamal Rodgers, and definitely a fan. And so, what my emphasis has been on lately, I would say, is mostly in the nonprofit arena. We just hit my 1,000 student mark of um,
Oh,
wonderful nonprofit development students who are learning how to change the world. And I'm just really impressed by the caliber of students that are in our classes. They're all online and reaching at least 15 different countries. We have business
wow.
courses, yes, and it's all in nonprofit development, the rates development. In fact, I heard our nephew Norman use one of the terms that we use a lot, which is everybody's not your client. And that's one of the things that we teach people in the course. But I'm excited about being here. And congratulations, Asia, on your launch and having such a wonderful guest as Dr. McCray here. And
All
let's
right.
just see what
Yes.
happens.
Thank you guys so much. So, first of all, I want you guys to understand so pure, perfectly undefined, raw elegance. Um, that is about um, understanding who you are and being comfortable with who you are and how God made you. And what I'm trying to do is utilize what God has given me and the way that He's made me, and to uplift other people and encourage other people and use the information that I have from other people to help others as well. And so that's why I have you guys, my guests, to help educate us on various topics that we'll be addressing. Lately, we have been experienced at first. We were dealing with the pandemic, which is a headache in itself, and people having to stay at home, and it driving divorce rates up. People are going crazy. Violence is going through the roof, and then we see an explosion in outrage due to police brutality, and all the reactions and things have caused loss of life, loss of damage, loss of money. So,
Mhm.
um, Dr. McCray, in your experience, have you seen the kind of situation that we have right now on such a large scale?
Uh, yes and no. Um, it's always been there. And so when you work in prisons and you work in sort of um, and when you work in trauma, you know it's always there. What's added to that is everyone else knowing that it's there, and sort of everyone else sort of, oh my goodness, what's going on?
Mhm.
But as far as the inequality and the trauma and people being unequally persecuted and prosecuted and killed and um, or almost killed, those sort of things, that's been there for a long time, actually. What's new is that we're catching more of it on camera, I think.
Mm. Mhm.
Yeah, that's true.
There's definitely
What
a
would you,
increase in the numbers of people that are seeking help right now. Um, the anxiety levels, the depression levels have been off the roof, understandably so, because people don't know what this is, um, and also one other thing: when you stay home more, you're also inundated with a lot more negative press as well. So you're isolated, and being isolated and just watching the news constantly. That's just a recipe for more panic and more depression, actually.
agreed? What is your take on it, Dr. Margaret?
Well, and I very much agree with Dr. McCray is saying is that we're actually living in real time. And people that have a degree of empathy, which our people tend to have, it's like even though it may be happening on the other side of another nation, another city, You even see people empathizing in other countries. It's like we're feeling it. In other words, this happened to me. You can't help but imagine that could be my son, that could be my daughter, that could be my husband, cousin, nephew. We relate to it some way. And what's really amazing to me is how people are embracing it and finding themselves, their stories somehow intertwined in what's going on at large. And I believe that people are finding their voices in different ways, um, and just finding ways to relate. I think that the pandemic, like, as Dr. McCray indicated, has made people want to find connectivity. And we're not only finding connectivity, but we're also finding a way that we can make a difference, that we can make it count, that we can find purpose in what's happened. And it hurts. We celebrate with people when you can, but it is so hard to find something to celebrate. So people are looking for, to me, identity in all of this. That's what I'm saying.
That's an interesting thing you said, finding identity and all this. Can you expound on that? What do you mean if people are looking for identity?
Well, I think that this pandemic has made people question who they are. It's like one day our son had asked, said, "Mom, have you ever experienced anything like this?" I said, "No." And if someone had told me to prepare for something like this, I would say how, because it's not like anything that we've experienced before. And even whatever this is, we don't know what it is because it's so fluid. It's always moving every day. It's new information. It's almost like we have information overload. We're compelled to watch it. We're compelled to be a part of this. And we don't know who we are from day to day because of the world around us, the way it's changing in such a rapid speed. And so that's what I'm saying is finding identity. We're waking up. I remember a few days after we were beginning to get an idea of the numbers that's being impacted. I remember a few days waking up and saying, no, it's not a dream. This is real. This is really happening with us. And, trying to find out, somebody used the term being firmly planted in midair, trying to find out where is my place in this world, in this situation. And it doesn't matter. It's the leadership,
Right.
entertainers, their teachers, their educators. And at some point we have to admit, I don't know. So I'm still trying to find something that gives me some sense of stability. I think that's a large part of it, in my opinion.
Okay.
I think it's where I totally agree with what you're saying as far as people trying to find the identity. And I think that's where the beauty of this is because now that everything is shaken up, we get to remake the puzzle. We get to remake who we are in the midst of all this. And people are finding their voice for the first time, whereas before there was no room for their voice. So this is actually, I'm looking at it as a total, time for just possibility and trying to figure out who people are. People are trying to figure out who they are, just like you were saying, Doc. And I see it as all good, actually. It's scary, but this is what healing feels like. This is what waking up feels like. It doesn't feel comfortable, but this is where growth happens, is where in the conflict, where it's uncomfortable, that's where everything happens, right?
So explain to me, Dr. McCray, where the beauty is in this. Can you expound on that? What exactly does that mean? Because a lot of people are hurting right now and aren't really seeing too much beautiful. It's a lot of darkness, a lot of pain, a lot of suffering, a lot of anger, and some hatred rearing its ugly head. So right. Where is the beauty?
The beauty is prior to this, we were just pushing things down, pretending like they weren't happening. We weren't feeling it. We would see things on television constantly, and somehow or the other, we would just let it just go somewhere. We would change the channels in our emotions. So what I'm saying is the beauty is in the pain, in that we're not asleep anymore. where we're awakening to what's going on, and it's not comfortable. And when I'm doing therapy or couples therapy or any kind of therapy, it looks like this. It looks ugly at first, and it's very uncomfortable. People are angry, people are mad, people are sad. People want to quit. People don't know what they're doing. And this is like the beginning of a process of healing, because now people are feeling, instead of pushing it down, which is always better. So as a psychologist, I'm like, all right, there we go. They're getting mad. That one over there is getting upset. Oh, this was protested. And I'm like, yeah, that's where we're at. So I'm excited, because this is where change happens. This is where everything happens, is in that uncomfortable space.
If I may I add where I'm seeing some beauty as well?
Sure.
Is
Yes,
I'm seeing people, again, the empathy, where people are protesting. They showed an example of a town in Mississippi with signs Black Lives Matter. And I said, babe, do you notice something? There's not a Black person in the whole march, in the whole town that's marching, all white people saying Black Lives Matter. Now, when would that have happened?
I know.
And so you're saying that people are just, look at God. Right? I'm just saying, you see people who are saying, you know what, I want you to know that we care about this situation. And it's not just you. You don't have to represent yourself. You don't have to stand in this thing. You're not by yourself.
Exactly.
And even though we don't look like you, we don't bleed like you, we don't go to sleep with the same issues that you necessarily go to sleep with or wake up with, we feel you, and we want you to know we feel you and that we care.
Exactly, because we were getting with the administration we have now, we were getting a picture of those people that are racist, that want to keep this thing going, that want to keep people fighting. That's who was being walked across the stage, so to speak. Meantime, there's a whole other group of people that are beyond that. They've been beyond that. They just didn't have a way to connect. And I mean, I've had a lot of clients. I've got Black clients, I got white clients, I got Asian clients. They're all over the color spectrum and ethnic spectrum. And they've all contacted me. How do I help? What do I do? And these are sincere people, people that I thought were, just racist, and I just would have never suspected how much they would say, hey, wait a minute, this is out of control. This is embarrassing. I hate that this is like this. How do I fix it? What do I need to do? And I am seeing that, and that's the beauty of it. We're not as separate as people want us to be or try to make out that we are. It looks like you got some folks out there chiming in.
Indeed.
Sit in, huh?
She reminds me of, I don't know if you can even remember this time, Dr. McCray, but in the 70s during the protesting, right? With James Brown saying, say it loud, I'm backing up, right? Went through those phases, right? And then it's like in between that time and this time, when it seemed like we were advancing, somehow that inner appreciation for each other began to fade away. And it's like, what I'm hoping does not happen with this movement is that people get bored and then stop fighting the good fight. Why are we doing this? This is not just for a photo op. It's not. I hope that it's not a trend, but it's a pace setter, for real change. That what comes out of this is people saying 10 years ago, there used to be racial unrest and discrimination. And then our young people saying, what is that? Because it doesn't exist anymore. That's what I'm hoping. I'm hoping that this is actually the beginning of a change, a real change.
Right.
Beautiful.
I think that I think before there was generation gaps in that the people that were older, that are in our generation, our children and our children, our grandchildren have been more in integrated schools and that sort of thing, and they really didn't see the racism. And you got to think about something too: is that some kids are growing up with 8 years of Obama, so their idea about who can be president, that's totally changed. That's all they know is Obama and a little bit of this guy right here. So they're not, they weren't carrying the same sense of, wait a minute, there's a lot of racism out there. And we were made to feel like you're just making up stuff. Mom, we've moved past that, or Dr. McCray, we've moved past that. This is not what that is anymore. And they slowly but surely got to see what we were talking about. So that gap is closed somewhat as far as being on the same page. It's like generations are waking up together. So no one is like by themselves right now in generations. That in itself is really interesting.
I agree.
Yeah, so that part is really cool. We've got different ages.
Yeah. That is cool. I would like to change directions a little bit. So we called this episode Just Breathe, right? Because we're talking about, this is a beautiful thing that we're all fighting together. We're like, okay, we got to put a stop to this mess. We have to come together and say enough is enough. And that is a beautiful thing. But in all of that intensity, do we not feel stress? The people not breaking down? So what I want to know is, Dr. Margaret, how do you breathe? How do you deal with all of this stress of the constant? I know we're hearing it on the news and through social media, and it's just a cycle of mess going on right now. Why we have to fight in the first place. So what are some of your ways of coping?
I would say for me, it's daily. Definitely prayer. Starting it off with prayer, ending my evening with prayer. And I'll tell you something else. And people make fun of me, but this is what I do. I watch things. What you feed your mind, I believe, at least for me, what I feed my mind really makes an impact on me. So sometimes I'll watch things like Andy of Mayberry RFD, which is so far removed. I know just about every episode. And part of it is because of the lighter side, their message is there, but it's so different than the fast pace of the world. I listen to the scriptures. I listen to Audible as my friend. I listen to positive messages. I spend time with my family. I try to enjoy life. I make jokes. I play solitaire, spider solitaire. Behind things I do, I help other people. And, I'm real big on animation. I do that as a form of not only helping people, but also, helping to cope with stress. I stay busy. I stay occupied with positive influences, and I try to avoid toxic people.
Right. And I think
on a regular basis.
Exactly. I just saw somebody's message popped up because, a lot of people are right here in the very midst of pain. They've lost people, people have been gassed. And so they're in the middle of the pain. And while we're saying, this has a beautiful side to it, and we can relax and we can do some things, they're like, wait a minute, that's not where I'm at right now. So, but the thing is, you still, even in the midst of all of the tragedy, you still have to give yourself a little bit of time to breathe. You have to give yourself a time to relax, take that warm bath. And the reason why that's important is just because we have to shed a lot of the toxins because we're taking that in. And one of the things, whether it's ritualistic or whether it's about ritual or it's about something physical, it just sometimes you have to go in and bathe and just get all of that, the toxins out, the mental toxins, the emotional toxins. And sometimes people do it with prayer. I deal with just, I'm not a good prayer warrior, so I just talk straight up. Hey, God, I don't even know what this is. Tell me what it is. This is crazy. Um, and just be real about where your pain is as well. And that's the one thing to start. Just be real about it. Be real about your anger. Be real about everything. Um, this has not been an easy time for me either, even as a psychologist. I think I've picked up about 30 pounds just because I've been eating my stress. And so, but just acknowledge that. Okay, this is where we are right now. We're in the midst of stress. This is how stress feels. And we have to walk through it straightforward. You can't drug it out. You can't drink it out. You can't smoke it out. You got to go right through it. And it's very
yeah. Music.
Yeah, that sounds
Music too. Music is big.
That's my favorite.
Yeah.
That is my favorite. Get a good gospel mix going on, some good Fred Hammond.
Yeah.
Yes, that is the best.
Every morning.
Amen.
Praise begin.
Let the praise begin. Looks like I'm gonna have Gina Franklin Liverpool on the show. She got a lot to say. Thank you so much for contributing. We do have Norman J. Liverpool coming on the show soon, so you guys look out for that. He says mental toxins. This is huge. By sharing your story, we can identify what toxins you're feeding into. I agree with that.
That's right.
How do you feel about what he's saying?
Our own toxic waste. Sometimes it's stuff that we're telling ourselves in our minds. We're taking on the toxic identities of others and not even know it. It's like, wait a minute, I'm a positive person. Where am I getting this from?
Yeah, oh, yes, definitely. There are people that
Dr. McCray, has anybody come to you and stressed about things, and you recognize that they don't need medication, but they're taking on the stress of someone else?
Yeah.
How do you deal with that?
Very rarely recommend medication, because there are times when you're so stressed when you just need that sort of balance to kind of bring you back to something you can. Sometimes you need it just to sleep or do something so you can get your whole biorhythms back together. And so there's a need, or there's a place for medication. So I'm not against that. But what I'm saying is that sometimes it is about the toxicity of other people, getting negative people out of your life. And sometimes you get to the point where you narrow it down to you're by yourself. It's like, wait a minute, I can do bad. You know that phrase, I can do bad all by myself. Sometimes you have to weed people out. And if they're bringing that negativity into your home or their attitudes, sometimes you have to do what you can do. And then sometimes I even go an extra mile and just like sage my house or something. Like, let me get this negative vibe out of my my atmosphere, out of my environment. But it is a lot about how you think about things. And I gave the example, working in prisons. They teach you a lot. When you work anywhere, you're going to learn something from it. But one of the things that I learned from people working in prisons, I could have two men in the exact same physical place, right? And they're in the lockdown, what we call the lockdown unit. And one is in there because they got in trouble and they made them go in there. And the other one's in there because they did something and they want to just be safe, and they asked to go on PC. They asked to go in this small space where nobody can bother them. Now, their mental health depends on whether or not they asked to be there or whether or not they volunteered and asked to be there. And so it's like the exact same situation, but the attitude determined how well they did while they were there. So the ones who were forced to be there, you got in trouble, so you got to do 10 days in lockdown unit. Those guys just threw a fit. Cutting themselves, doing all kind of crazy stuff. The ones who asked to be there, I'd go by their rooms and say, hey, listen, what's up? How you doing? Oh, I'm straight. Here, you want to see my baby? You want to see this? and total different attitudes. So your attitude determines how you're feeling. So during this COVID-19, where some people are like, I can't stand it. I can't go anywhere, do anything for me. I was like, oh, finally, I can't go anywhere, do anything. That means that I get to just do nothing. And that's just a good place to be sometimes. So it's about your attitude, how you go, how you think about a situation. One more example is that people that are angry all the time, I'll give you an example about road rage, for example. And I tell people all the time, I've never had anyone to cut me off in traffic. I've never had anybody to push me off the road or cut me off. I've never had that happen in my life.
Wow.
Period. You said, wow. I have had the situation over and over where people waited to the last minute they needed to get over. I was able to pull back. They weren't better, I'm glad I'm a better driver, but they waited to the last minute, so they needed to slide in real quick. We're okay. I give them a thumbs up. You okay? I'm okay. But if I process that same thing as they purposely tried to cut me off, then I'm angry all day long. This person tried to cut me off. But if I process it as, wow, they didn't pace that correctly, and now they need to get in, let me back up and let them in so we can all get where we're going, then I'm happy all day. I didn't give them the finger. I didn't give them that look like you give people. They're happy. I'm happy. I say hello. You all right? I'm all right. Everybody goes about their day really nice. So it's all about the interpretation. You see what I'm saying about how you move forward. Yeah. So that goes with everything.
I power of interpretation.
I recognize something though in myself.
What's that?
Sometimes I just want to be angry. Sometimes I want to put the Vaseline on, take off my earrings, take off my shit, and I want to fight. Sometimes I honestly feel that way. I mean, is there something wrong? I mean, sometimes I just want to, like,
sometimes you just want to be. Yeah.
I don't hope you don't have a phone. I hope you don't get an image of this. But I want to tell somebody a little something right now. Sometimes I want to do that.
It is. It is nothing wrong with that. I just like I said, I think anger and is much more healthy.
Okay.
Than just taking it in and blaming yourself. It's just anger is so much more healthy than just, depression, because if you don't let it out some sort of way, in a positive way, or cuss somebody, or whatever you want to do, slap somebody, whatever you do when you get angry. If you
wait a minute. Dr. McCray, did you just give us permission to slap somebody?
You know what? They might. I can't tell you that they won't slap you back.
Oh, yeah, there is that. Right.
People feel that way. Sometimes it just feels good to just say, you know what? I really want to slap you right now, but I won't. I mean, sometimes you just need to just tell them how you're feeling.
Don't slap me back. It might hurt.
Exactly. It's about getting it out.
That's a Taurus in you. I'm a Taurus too. I know.
Oh, God. These Taurus.
Calling me names.
Norman said, "Let's get to slapping." Oh Lord, have mercy.
And the stuff we're dealing with, people need
people. Now you got to do this.
I know, right?
Social distancing. Yeah.
Throw them both on it. Oh no. Are we getting sidetracked?
Yeah, we are. Breaking and come right back. Is that allowed in the program?
You are allowed.
Okay.
There's 3 of us.
Thank you.
All right. We excuse you, Dr. Margaret Jamal. All right. So, Dr. McCray, have you ever been angry about someone not getting angry? You know, I know with all of this stuff going on, sometimes you just want to have other people feel what you feel. Like, don't you understand my pain? Don't you understand how I'm hurting? Why don't you feel how I feel? Why don't you hurt like I hurt?
Yeah, I think that you want somebody to take that journey with you. And I hear what people are saying, because we got a lot of calls. I saw people coming up saying, you know, basically, I'm still angry, I'm this. And they get offended because you're not angry. So I understand what you're saying. Sometimes not being angry is used as a fighting tool. Does that make sense? So you're angry. Okay, say for example, in a relationship, you're upset, you're angry, right? Sometimes instead of that person joining you, they already know that they can't beat this conversation. You got something, you coming at them. So they fight you by not getting angry, to leave you out there angry by yourself, which makes you even more angry. So it can be a weapon to not be angry, especially when somebody's trying to make you angry. The best weapon you could have is not give it to them. Just, oh, okay. It's a good
So you
way.
think some people intentionally don't show the emotion?
Yeah, I think some people refuse to let other people show they refuse to let other people see them get angry. I mean, that's like, you know, couples therapy stuff, but yeah, it can be used as not being angry can be a very powerful tool, actually. Just being angry is a powerful tool, but not being angry is even more powerful. It's like, you know what, you're trying to make me upset, but I'm not going to let that happen. So then they get even more angry. So it could, anger used appropriately or inappropriately can have different results depending on what your goal is. You know, if it's just a release.
Is that always healthy? Oh, she came back with the glasses. She ready now.
I can see.
Is
Where are you?
oh no. Is it always healthy to not react? Is it always healthy to keep the anger down? Do you think that what is a part of what's happening right now is certain people holding it down so much that now it's exploded?
Yeah, I think that's part of it. I tell you, the people that I'm getting angry with, though, are the people that during this process, I'm starting to get angry at the people that are shaking their finger and telling people, you need to calm down. You don't need to be angry. You are, you know, I don't believe in that either. I mean, right now, while people are angry, we need to let them be angry. There's no judgment in that. You know, just if you're angry, be angry. Now, destroying things and things like that, that's a different story, only because it's going to be turned around in some sort of ugly way to say, okay, see that y'all out of control anyway. But then every now and then you got to kick a rock or something. Every now and then you got to let it out. You know, so, and the last thing you need while you're doing it is somebody to judge that. In the midst of your anger, somebody judges you. You're not supposed to be that angry. Yeah, it's complicated. We had some people. I had someone online, on my Facebook friend, that she just came out. I hate President Trump. I just hate him. And a lot of people are like, you're not supposed to hate anybody. I'm thinking, you can't tell her who to hate. I will say this: I wouldn't give him the energy it takes to hate. He didn't deserve that much energy. It takes too much energy to hate somebody. Some people just aren't worth your energy to do that. So, but yeah.
May I just interject with that as far as
I was going to ask you to.
I'm sorry. Oh, can you hear me?
I said I was just about to ask you to. I can hear you fine.
Oh, go ahead. Ask me.
please, Dr. Margaret, would you interject here?
Uh, as far as the anger and that situation, I think that one of the things that's real important that I go alongside with her is that people want to tell you to calm down.
Right.
People want to tell you, don't react that way. You're too emotional. And then you think about, who are you to tell me what's too emotional? Who are you to tell me to calm down? In
Right.
other words, you can't handle this space. Well, then you need to find another space. But you do not dictate to me how I should respond because you're uncomfortable with my response. And so I think that that is in itself something that we need to work on, collectively, is trying to tell people. In other words, they say, be, and it's not even necessarily be like me, is be like I want you to be. And that's controlling. And I think that that's one of the things that's coming out of this, is that we're really realizing how much we have been being controlled.
Yes.
When you say breathe, it's like you feel the pressure of somebody else on you trying to dictate how you should respond while they're pressuring you.
Yeah.
And so at some point you're like, no, enough. That's no, you don't get to do that.
Yeah.
Don't tell me to breathe. Don't tell me how to act.
Unfortunately, there's always people, whether it's in a relationship or whether it's in society or whether it's somebody on Capitol Hill,
Mm-hmm.
regardless of what they've done, how many times they've slapped you, said something crazy, insulted you or whatever, when you respond, that is where their story starts. Does that make sense? So I don't know if you've been in that trap before with someone where someone baited you, said ugly things.
Oh, yeah.
Say, whatever you say, I don't know what you want to say, whatever you say back, their story starts then. They don't even talk about what it took you to get there.
Mm-hmm.
The story starts at the fact that, hey, you cussed me out. You said that. What type of person even does this? Their story starts at your reaction, not at what they did to get you to react. And I know I've dealt with people like that my whole life, and it's just like, and they really do forget everything they've done to get you to respond. So sometimes responding and being angry, you actually feed into their craziness. So
do you think that a lot of times though people just aren't aware? Some people just seem to be so out of touch. It's like there's their world, then there's your world, and I'm not saying which one is right or which one is wrong, but don't you get a sense sometimes that people just have no idea about your experience or how what they're saying or how what they're doing is impacting you?
some people do not have the emotional intelligence to be empathetic and step in your shoes. And that's unfortunate.
They step on your toes, but not in your shoes.
There's a flip side of that. People become too empathetic and they feel everybody's pain. And those people that are empathic like that, I mean, it's, they're not just depressed for themselves, they're depressed for everybody. And then it's hard for them to get off the couch. So it's finding that balance.
Sometimes, yeah.
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah.
Sometimes I have a hard time navigating that balance.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I told you I watch.
I've been told I'm pretty empathetic. I was told I'm pretty empathetic. However, I have been that one where I'm just like, I don't understand why you're upset with me right now. Maybe you need to go to a quiet place or something. I don't know what's wrong with you because I'm fine. You should be fine. And sometimes it takes an outsider to point out, look at what you're doing right now. Look at how you're saying things. Even my own son, he has great intentions. He's a sweetheart. He's a very loving, lovable person. And he tries to guide his siblings. But sometimes the tact is not there. And so they explode at his suggestions. And he's like, hey, chill out, calm down. What is your problem? You see, I'm trying to help you. But you started with an insult. Here's what's wrong with you.
Where your son got that from?
I noticed that she said, "This is me," and then she described her son in the exact same way.
I know, right?
Oh, about that. No, but yeah, but see, now I'm on the outside looking in, and I'm able to instruct him and guide him and say, this is not the way you approach helping people. This is not the way you deal with it. You have to understand their point of view, understand the kind of person you're dealing with, and gently guide. You never start off with an insult.
And I know you're the host and everything, so you're talking about breathing. May I ask you even both a question? I know one of the things that's caught me with what we're seeing about with what's happening, with George, with Aubrey, with the people who have died at the hands of the police, right?
Right. George Floyd,
they are so, people know them. But I said something to my husband, and I said, well, how do you think, have you imagined how the people feel? Because this is nothing new to us, right? We know that it's happening on a regular basis. How do you think the people feel who also experience this, who are not made famous? You hear about these famous people now. I think they say, what's the name? Kanye is giving scholarships to these families. What about the hundreds of families that experience the exact same thing? And no one is acknowledging what happened to them.
You're right.
Exactly.
You're right. I was speaking to somebody else. I don't know if he wants to be named, so I won't. But I was speaking to somebody else earlier in the week about it. As Norman said, remember, Black Lives Matter. Absolutely. He was telling me the same thing. He was saying, to us, this is nothing new. The older people, because
but it's like we're acting like, this is what I'm saying. We're behaving like it's new. We're part of this massive crowd that says, look at what happened to these people. And we're not taking this opportunity as a people to say, wait a minute, this is happening to a bunch of people. Let's use this time. Let's use our collective voice to help more than these families.
Right. I think that, I don't know.
I think
I never saw
happening though.
I never saw the George Floyd thing as a George Floyd thing. I saw it as the straw that broke the camel's back.
Mm-hmm.
This is just like the last thing. And it was a combination of a lot of things happening at once. Even the female in the park that was trying to pretend like this black guy who was just a bird watcher was out to get her. I mean, that came
the police on it.
Right. The Aubrey thing came up. There were other beatings. There were other situations. Here in Indianapolis, we had a young man who actually Facebook Live this police chase, and he wound up being killed here. So it was like we were in the car with him that whole time. And then, he jumps out of the car. He said, come get me, y'all. And he jumps out of the car, and, you hear the shots after that. I mean, so here in Indiana, it was just very, very raw. All these things were happening back to back to back to back.
Mm-hmm.
And so I don't see George Floyd as the victim any more than I see all the other people out there that have suffered because of this. And then, of course, a lot of mothers have lost their child to Black on Black crime as well. So we can't throw all that in the same pot right now.
Mm-hmm.
Because we have to deal with one thing and deal with this other thing, because they're two separate issues, but the pain is still the same.
I'm not understanding.
What I'm saying is,
what's a separate issue?
The separate issue is we have a lot of gun violence in our community. And so parents and loved ones are losing their loved ones to these young folks that are shooting each other.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And so that's their pain. Okay, we're killing each other. That's their pain, and that's our pain there. That's a set of pain. And then there's a set of pain from police brutality, police killing people. That's a different set. And sometimes people will mix that into the same conversation. And
then it seems overwhelming.
Then it's totally, one, it's overwhelming, and two, it's just two mechanisms. The pain is still the same. The pain is still extreme. It's excruciating emotional pain, but they're two different causes, and we can't like mix those. So right now, let's deal with the police brutality thing as one issue, and then we deal with and we also deal with the black on black crime issue, but they're separate, and we can't mix them together in this conversation.
And I get that. And my question is, do we still, though, see it as important that we give voice to all of the people that are suffering this type of loss in order to make a difference?
Yes.
Because if we just, say we're going to address the ones that's most popular, when it's not popular anymore,
right?
People say, well, my job is done.
We've lost too many people, period. So the issue is that every life is precious, absolutely precious. So the young people, we need to save them, give them time to think for a minute, and sort of pull them underneath our wings and say, hey, wait a minute, you matter. We want to see you alive when you're 25, when you're 30 years old. But we also want to make sure that somebody else isn't coming in and killing our people as well. It's even more horrendous when you have no control over it whatsoever. You just, you get stopped by the police and you die. That's unfortunate. So I worry about both of those things. I'm a mother of a son. And so I worry about both of those things. Sometimes when he's thinking about coming to visit me, I'm thinking, that's stress. To have you here in a city that's not necessarily welcoming,
I think that too, when people talk about the black on black crime, and I do agree that that's an issue, but I do think that we have to recognize the fact that it is that the systemic problem of us feeling oppressed, being oppressed, and a lot of times not even seeing our lives matter is what contributes to us thinking that our neighbor's life doesn't matter. In other words, we don't know how to be friends to each other. We don't know how to be supportive of each other because of the years of oppression. And I think that people need to acknowledge that too. Like people say, well, you shouldn't be killing your brother. You shouldn't be fighting like that. But we need to ask our question, why are we doing that? Why are we being hateful towards each other? There's a reason for it.
Yeah.
And I don't think that you can blame someone who is mental, because we're talking about mental health and just breathe. If you have somebody that has post-traumatic syndrome, and they say this is post-traumatic syndrome month, they have PTSD and they're going around behaving badly and they're attacking people. You can't say, well, you know better than to attack people, because there's something that's different going around here. And so we treat those people as if they should be responsible, and they shouldn't be. We treat people who come out of prison, who shouldn't have been in prison in the first place, and they come out of prison and say, why can't you go ahead and assimilate like everybody else? Why can't you act like normal people? Well, what makes you think they should act like normal people when they've been oppressed and been treated like that while they were incarcerated? It just doesn't make any sense.
I agree, Gina. Franklin, Liverpool. So I should be able to walk on Roosevelt Road from Independence to California without being harmed by anyone, black or white.
You should be. You mean in this world? You should be. Okay. All right. I like to belong to Gina's world. We should.
It would be nice.
Yeah.
You know what? That does go towards speaking about sort of the unequal environment. I happen to live in a neighborhood that the gentrification is happening rapidly, And I just noticed that, you see young white women just jogging down the street by themselves. And that's something I was like, whoa, this neighborhood never been that safe. Um,
But
but they
Dr.
don't even think about it.
Go ahead. They when we lived on the west side of Chicago, the white women could jog by themselves. It's the black women that couldn't jog by themselves.
Exactly. It was, yeah,
Figure that one.
yeah. It's very, very interesting how that works. But yeah, the unequalness.
I don't know, because I saw a different tone when I was on the west side of Chicago, because they saw a white person walking through there. They're like, "Why are you here? You look lost, so you must be up to no good." That's what I saw.
Yeah.
But did they touch them?
Like, kind of like, you don't belong in this neighborhood.
But did they touch them?
They confronted them and they left. That's what I saw.
Okay.
Wow.
But I mean, I feel it's kind of the same thing though in regards to the environment.
Mm-hmm.
They recognized that they didn't belong there. It wasn't because they were protecting their community. They just said, "You don't belong here." So they still don't know how to be good neighbors to each other. They weren't looking out for anybody. Like, honey, you really shouldn't be here. It's dangerous.
I think the good thing
That's
about
not what we're doing.
I think the good thing about the marches, though, is that the young people have a way to start to get some of their pain. They have a way to get involved because some of us aren't going to be out there marching like that all day, all night. We have to appreciate the young people being able to march for us and on our behalf. So I think that for the first time, this is what I'm talking about when I'm talking about the beauty of this, is that now we're getting more people in the conversation and more people being active. And I think that once you're active, this is the thing, once you march, once you're active, you continue to be active. It's hard to go backwards once you've made those initial steps. So those are going to be our future politicians. Those are going to be our future leaders, providing we support what they're doing. And I think we're willing to do that right now because we weren't getting it handled. We're still having people get beat in the streets and things like that. But now it's time to get it handled, and they're handling it well. And I'm encouraging them 100%.
Yeah. Well, we are definitely gonna have to start wrapping things up because this can be a part 2, a part 3, 4, 5.
Did you want to?
There's a lot to talk about, but what I do want to make sure that we leave people with is how to deal with that mental stress without doing what we were talking about earlier and slapping each other and take an elbow to the face. On my website, you can use either asiajamal.com or asiajamal.net. I also would, I posted something from the CDC, cdc.gov, and it was just a list of things that they were saying, which aligned with what Dr. McCray was saying earlier in regards to steps you can take to help with your mental state. There's also hotline numbers on there you can call on cdc.gov. But what I would like to hear from you both, and I want to start with Dr. Margaret and with Dr. McCray, is the words of encouragement, the just breathe statements from our doctors. So I would like to start with you, Dr. Margaret.
Well, I would say for me, laugh. Learn to laugh. Learn to even see the things that seem like so serious that they're ridiculous. Let them be ridiculous to you and laugh at every opportunity that you can. Find the comedies that lift your heart, not the dark comedies that make you, take advantage of other people hurting, not those types. But like there's this series called Thou Shalt Laugh, right? It is so funny. So that's what I would say for me. Learn to laugh and then love unconditionally. I know that might sound really corny, but that means love people, whether they're lovable or not. Love them because you can. Do your best. Do active loving. That's what I would say. Active loving, active caring, active laughing.
I
Yeah.
like that.
I love
Of
that.
course, pray.
What do you have for Dr. McCray?
I'm with the other doc right there. I've done more laughing in the midst of this mess than I've ever done before.
Mhm.
And because some of the stuff is just people are sending to me or just it's just wild. But I also we've always been a beautiful people, and it's just I guess I see the I'm seeing people grow in ways that I'm just excited about. And so I'm just excited. I'm just excited about who we're becoming. I just want to encourage everyone not to give up. We might have to change tactics, but do not stop. Um, Marching can only go so far before you have to put your money behind it or take your money out of it. And that's probably the next step. But we have to make sure we're doing things that make sense and also making sure we're holding people accountable. We can't just have politicians that are just saying, well, I'm going to do this or you to get the black vote. Show me what you're going to do. Show me what plans you've got going and show me that you're committed to this, not just a bunch of rhetoric. What exactly are you going to do?
Mhm.
And so I'm just looking forward to what everybody's becoming right now. I'm hoping everybody is registering to vote.
Yes.
Lines were out the wazoo when I voted the other day in Indiana. I'm hoping that people will take the same energy and actually vote.
Mhm.
That will be phenomenal.
I agree. I completely agree. Thank you so much, Dr. Margaret Jamal, Dr. Valerie McCray. I really appreciate your time. Thank you for your contribution and all of the ones that were watching. Till next week, same time, 9 p.m. Central Standard Time. I love you all.
Thank
And
you
good
for
night.
having us. Good night.
Good night.